Hi everyone, my name is Zoe and I'm the Lived Experience Lead for Finding North Network. So today we have our wonderful guest, a Finding North Network member, Jenny Smith, who will be our guest today, and we'll be having a conversation just about everything and everything about lived experience. Now, before we start, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the country that I'm on today, and in the spirit of reconciliation, the Finding North Network acknowledges the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to the land, sea and community. We pay our respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people today. This afternoon, I'm connecting online on the lands of the Turrbal and Yagara people. And also, most importantly, I'd like to acknowledge the values, the expertise of the people and families and carers with lived and living experiences of the mental health conditions. So thank you so much for being here today. Now, for those who are currently online, please note that this session is recorded, so please keep your video off and stay on mute. If you have any questions that you want to ask Jenny, please feel free to add that into the chat, and also at the end of this session, we'll be opening up for questions as well. As always, please stay respectful, and if you need assistance, please feel free to private message me at any time and I'll be here to support you. And as always, our conversations about lived experience might activate various emotions for you. So please make sure you are looking after yourself. And if at any point you need to take a break from this conversation, please feel free to leave immediately. There are also numbers here that you can call at any time as well. But please just look after yourself, and we'll be having a very amazing and incredible conversations with Jenny. So without further ado, first of all, I'd really like to introduce you to Jenny Smith. And the reason that I chose this particular quote on this session is that this is one of the very first quotes that Jenny gave us when we were talking about lived experience and what that means for her. And today, the quote actually says, "It's okay not to be okay. I acknowledge I will have bad days, face challenges, and sometimes fail. However, each time I learn important lessons and coping skills." And I guess that's such a meaningful way to start this conversation, because really that's what lived experience is all about. So without further ado, Jenny, I'd love to get you to I guess talk to us and welcome aboard to this amazing well, thank you so much for coming to this conversation today with me.
You're welcome, Zoe.
Yes, I guess, to get started, I wanted to ask you if you can tell the network members and people who are watching today just what they should know about you when we're having this conversation. So if you can please tell, everyone a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Oh, yeah. Well, my family's had a lot of experience within the mental health arena. My late father was diagnosed with schizophrenia. My sister has got the same, and depression, anxiety as well. And I've had my issues and things like that over the past number of years as well. So
I guess, it's such a journey, isn't it, Jenny, for someone to be a carer, but also have their personal lived experience. So I guess, you've had an amazing career and volunteering in various aspects of mental health organizations as well. So, on your LinkedIn, it says that you're a lived experience educator. What does that mean?
I actually started with the program with the Schizophrenia Fellowship before they changed over to One Door. They had a program called Remind Education and Training, and what they used to do is run training courses and send people with lived experience out to share their stories with the participants.
Okay. And what does the training involve?
It varied over the years, but I went through 2 days of training just to how to tell your story, all the do's and don'ts and things like that. And we also had a practice towards the end of it.
That's amazing. So tell us, what are the do's and don'ts?
Oh, just to be mindful of the trauma aspect and things like that. It's just really basic sort of stuff.
Okay, awesome, awesome. It's really interesting to hear that because I think as Finding North Network grows, we have so many people coming out and wanting to share their lived experience. Some with more experience, like having these specific trainings on do's and don'ts. Some, they don't as well. So it's always good to hear those with more
Yeah.
experience on how to share. And how did people respond to your story when you're sharing it? That's a question that Donna has just popped up, and I thought it's a good conversation starter.
Pretty good, because the first talk I ever gave when I was in that program was to a group of volunteers that were training for one of the programs that One Door has. And it was all sort of psychology students, social work students, a few older people and things like that. But it really impacted them, I think.
Wow. Especially with, psychology and social work students, from a very clinical perspective, what were their reactions to such a raw and lived experience and personal story?
I think they really appreciated hearing the story,
That's
like
good.
from my experience, rather than what's in their textbooks and what they get told at uni and things like that.
Absolutely. Tell me, so how did you find out or how did you get into lived experience? Because I think you started off with volunteering, and was lived experience something that was already within the volunteer um, landscape that you were in?
I got started pretty much in the mental health area after my sister went through another period of not being well, and I thought it was time I better learn what I needed to learn to obviously help her down the track once mum eventually goes, because dad had been gone for quite a while at the time. And then I signed up to all the different newsletters and got all the information I could off the internet. Mum was already heavily involved with the Schizophrenia Fellowship. She was a volunteer with their respite service. Mum and my sister are also educators within Remind
Wow.
as well. So I thought I'd have a go at it and see what happens after that.
And look at you now. The amount of recognition and the awards that you have received in the last couple of years since I've known you, I've only known you for, I think, almost 2 years, has
2 years,
been
yeah.
incredible. Well, why don't you tell us what are you currently doing in this space at the moment?
Still doing a little bit of educator work with mainly Sydney Uni students. Their pharmacy, the School of Pharmacy, call us in for different things that they're doing at different times of the year with their master's students. Sometimes it's their third year bachelor's students, depends what's going on. At the moment, doing Ray's mentoring, just finished the 5th year for that.
Yeah, I love the Raise mentoring. I think I'd love to focus more on that because I think in a previous conversation we talked about the Raise mentoring and how it
Yep.
was so important for young people. Can you please tell us an example of your mentorship and how that has made a difference in some of these young people with your 5 years of amazing work?
I started 5 years ago at a local school, and each year I get to mentor one student, even though we do group work as well and in large and small groups. And the progress that generally all the kids make, they come in, we have a session of games, getting to know you games and activities, which is called jitters, because we're all a bit nervous the first time. And
Jiggers.
yeah,
That's
it's called
amazing work.
jitters.
Jitters, jitters,
Yeah,
jitters. Well,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
understandably. And then after that, we get matched to a student, and then we just sit and basically talk with them for the 20 weeks of the program. There is a curriculum that we do follow with different topics, but it's their choice. If they want to do the topic each week, they can do that. We can play games. We can just sit there and chat about their week, and yep.
I love that. I was reading the report. So for those who don't know, Jenny has sent a report in terms of the Raise Mentoring program. And one of the 4 outcomes within the program for the young people is 1, asking for help, 2, hope for the future, 3, resilience, and 4, school belonging. And I remembered you shared with me that some of the students weren't very open to chatting to anyone, especially some of the counselors and after this particular program or spending some time with you, they were able to build a better relationship with the school, the staff on hand. Is that correct from my
Yeah,
memory?
yeah.
How do
They
you
were
think
opening
that's
up
helped?
to me about all sorts of different things. And obviously, a couple of times I had to tell the supervisor because there was risk involved. And they just accepted any help that we could give them at the time. And yeah,
I love that. What do you think has made the difference and why they were more open to someone like you as a volunteer as opposed to a staff at the school?
I mean, staff at the school, they're seen every day. Virtually, they only see us once a week. And I think it's the trust that we build up after a few weeks that actually gets them talking. Because I
That's
mean, some of these kids have no one else but their teachers or their parents to talk to, or their older brothers or sisters or something like that. So if you go in as an independent person, they could tell you anything and everything.
absolutely. I think sometimes having that that separation of they don't know you, you're not related or
Mm,
connected to anyone around them, gives them that freedom to be able to speak their minds and their true worries. Because I've got a 15-year-old Jenny, and I find that sometimes they're 15-year-olds, they're
mm,
concerned about a lot of things, sharing their deepest and darkest fears and concerns. I guess they're worried that people will judge them, or if they share
mm,
it with a school counselor, for example, they're worried that they'll tell the principal, or that the principal will tell the
mm,
parents, and then people are making a big scene out of it and
yeah.
all those things. Whereas someone like you, that you've obviously shared your lived experience, you show them how to do it.
Yeah.
And really giving the space for them to be heard and to speak their minds.
Yeah, it's a fantastic program. I love going every year.
Well, I guess we've been talking about your mentoring and all your volunteering. So I guess the next question that I wanted to ask you is, what gives you the energy to keep doing this for so long? You've been a volunteer in this space and you just keep going. What gives you energy to keep doing this?
I don't know. I guess different opportunities come up all the time. Mm.
And what kind of opportunities have you had in the past couple of years?
Uh, I did a book project with another organisation. About 50 people joined together to write their own stories, or some aspect of their lived experience. We put that into a book. It was crowdfunded, and then it was available for sale online as well as an ebook.
Wow.
Yeah. And we designed everything, the name of the book, the cover of the book, everything. Another project I was involved with before COVID was the regional plan for Central and Eastern Sydney Primary Health Network. I was able to write a bit of my story, and it actually went into the regional plan under the topic access and equity. I think it was the first topic in the plan. About 6 or 7 other people also wrote their stories, and each one went into a different section of the plan.
Wow.
And then apparently my writing seemed to be quite good. Part of it ended up in the media release for the PHN at the time, and then I was asked to speak at the launch.
Wow.
The CEOs of different mental health organisations were there, local politicians. That's about the biggest thing I've ever spoken at.
I love that, Jenny. Jenny, do you think you're more of a writer or a speaker or a combination of both?
Oh, I'd like to say I'm more of a writer, but if I get opportunities to speak, I take them.
Of course, of course. I think I'm similar. I much prefer to be in the background and write and express in that way, but I would never turn down an opportunity to have a conversation or present about lived experience because
Mm,
I think it's so important to have representations, whether it is the quiet ones, the louder ones, or any preferences. The more of us that are out there sharing our stories and to be heard, I think the better.
yeah, exactly.
Well, Jenny, what do you do to recharge? You do so much, you are such an amazing contributor in this space and in everything you do. I'd like to know more about you on a personal level. What do you do to recharge?
I just listen to some music, watch the TV, some movies and stuff with my sister. We like to get the DVDs of the old cartoons out we grew up with and watch them on a Friday night and
Oh, I
go
love
out shopping with her and yeah, do all sorts of things. Go to the movies with her.
Awesome. What's a recent DVD? What's the most recent DVD that you've watched?
I guess it's probably cartoons and things like that we grew up with. Yogi Bear and Top Cat and all those sorts of Hanna-Barbera ones.
Oh,
Those
Yogi Bear. I
days.
remember Yogi Bear.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I guess you've obviously done so much volunteering and you've used your lived experience in multiple areas. What does lived experience leadership mean to you?
Um, I guess it's just using your personal experience to benefit other people and organisations.
Have you have you ever been nervous about sharing your story? Do you still get nervous after so many years of sharing in multiple ways?
Yeah, I did get nervous before the PHN launch a bit, but I was lucky enough because a friend of mine was also speaking that day, so we were together.
Oh, the
So it was a
power
good
of
it was a good experience for both of us because
uh,
she'd always wanted to see me speak at something, but yeah,
how do you prepare yourself for these kind of presentations?
I guess probably try and focus on something else until I actually get there and just look at my notes and yeah, hope for the best, I guess. But I usually know at least someone in the room, so it's nice to have a bit of support there too.
Oh, I love that. I'm the complete opposite, Jenny. When I present, I would rather not have anyone that I know of because then I'm like, oh my goodness, that person is judging me. But
No,
yes,
they only judge me in a really good way.
oh, well, yeah, you always need that peer support, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Donna has a question for you and wanted
Oh,
to
does she?
ask, what would you say is the best quality or skills as a mentor or peer or lived experience leader?
Best quality in general is probably listening to people, especially young people, because they really need it these days,
Why?
especially after COVID and everything they've had to cope with over the last couple of years.
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree because I think having a kid of my own, as a parent, often I listen to respond.
Mm,
Um, and and I think as a parent specifically, sometimes I'm not really active listening because when I hear something or when she tells me something, the first thing I want to do is to
jump
fix,
to conclusions and
jump.
yeah.
That's it. So I think having these programs like you with such amazing listening skills, I think it's such a benefit and it's so important for, for those out there.
It is because a couple of the students I've had with me haven't got anyone else apart from their mum and dad. They're an only child. So I was the only other neutral person coming into their life every week.
Yeah, my daughter's an only child, I can tell
Yeah.
you that. So that's something that I'm always concerned about. So I think practicing listening skills and creating connections with other people so she
Mm,
can actually talk to other people
yeah.
because I think aside from friends, you also, young people also need external support as well. So having her, my relatives or my friends that she has a
Yeah.
better relationship with, because if you only have relationship with a parental, I guess, a parent, and there's always that power play of and that awkwardness of it. So I think having other adults in their lives to support them, it's so important.
Yeah, and I think what's lovely with the students is we have about 15 in the group normally, and they make friends with each other when they normally wouldn't be friends outside of the group.
That's such an amazing bonding experience as well. So do they tend to be students in the same grade, or just it can be any?
No, at the school I'm at, they're all in year 9, so 14 to 15-year-olds.
Okay, and because high schools are so big, they can be from different classes, so it's an opportunity for them to.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. Well, I guess I wanted to ask other things, aside from talking about lived experience all the time, because, this is so important for our North, is what is something that you've always wanted to do but haven't done yet?
Written a book.
Written a book?
Mm.
Okay, and are you planning to do that anytime soon?
I've been planning it for years, but I haven't had the time to do much. But yeah,
Fiction or non-fiction?
probably like a memoir sort of thing about my life and things like that have happened. And
Of course. That's actually one of my goals, Jenny. And it's just a goal that has sat there for so long.
yeah.
And I'm like, one day I'll just start to write, and hope for the best. But hey, it is something that many of us, I think, want to do. And have you read any memoirs recently?
Well, I got Ash Barty's book the other day and I haven't started reading it yet, but I definitely will.
Okay, awesome. I'm currently reading Viola Davis memoir as well, and I think these type of books are just so life-changing, and because it teaches you, it gives you so much insight into someone's world, and to always don't judge the lesson of don't judge a book by its cover, because these are amazing stories, and I guess incidents and experiences that make them who they are today. So Donna has another question, which is, what one event in your life that would make it into your book for sure?
I don't know. I've had quite a few things happen in my life, so it'll probably be a combination of different things, like going right back through school and obviously bits and pieces that I'm doing now. There could be a whole variety of bits. I haven't really decided yet.
One of the things that I really noticed when reading Viola Davis's memoir was how prominent our childhood and adolescent experiences are that lead on to our adulthood.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, if I was at school, no way could I get up and stand up in front of a class. I'd always take the day off. I'd do anything to get out of any sort of presentation, speeches, whatever.
Oh, Jenny.
But now I'm able to do it quite easily. So long as there's small groups of people, if they get a bit bigger, well, yeah.
Well, Jenny, you're talking about someone who was still crying at university presentations and biting my nails till they bleed because I was so nervous, but I had to pass, and just breaking down in the middle of class. So I guess I know how you feel. But look at us.
I know how it feels at uni. I went to uni for a year and had to do numerous presentations, and pretty much everyone's hands were shaking. Our skin was going red because of all the adrenaline pumping around, and yet I can understand it.
Yeah, it's interesting how public speaking is one of the most biggest fears, one of human beings' biggest fear in general. And I guess I can understand that because it's just very scary to stand in front of a lot of people, and you're kind of raw for people to judge. And I think part of that is learning that I don't really think that they will remember your personal experiences, and they will really listen to nuggets of gold that you're trying to share.
Yeah, they remember the stories more than what you look like or things like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you could become an expert in something, what would it be?
Expert in something.
Like instantly.
Oh.
These are trick questions.
I know, I can tell. Expert in something, technology, I guess. I'm pretty good with it, but yeah, want to be better.
Is there a particular technology you would like to be better in?
Yeah, pretty much everything that's not a computer. My sister's quite good at TVs and things like that, where I'm not. And she's good at Chromecasting and things like that. So, yeah.
Yes, they're very, very useful, but they do take a little bit of fiddling.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And if you have your own late night talk show, who would you invite as your very first guest and why?
First guess. Ash Barty.
Ash
I've always liked her.
I don't know who Ash Barty is. Tell me more.
Tennis player. She won Wimbledon a couple of years ago.
And why her?
Probably because she's so down to earth.
Okay.
And she's so natural.
Oh, I love that. I've never been into sports, so when you give me these names, I always have to ask.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to Google.
See, I've always been interested in sports, so yeah.
Okay.
And then after her, I'll probably have to be some cricket player because I'm a cricket fanatic.
Have you always followed sports during your childhood and adolescence as well?
Yeah, always followed the cricket from a young age. Dad and me used to watch it all the time during the summer. And then we used to flick between the tennis and the cricket to see what was happening in the Australian Open and things like that.
Okay. Well,
and then I was always following the Olympic Games and things like that too.
Oh, I love that. What's the most memorable tennis match that you've watched?
Probably when Ash Barty won Wimbledon and the Australian Open last year.
Oh, I love that. And what about a cricket match?
Oh, there's so many cricket matches that were good.
I've never understood cricket. I can understand tennis, but I've tried to understand cricket, but I never understood it. So tell me, what's so good about watching a cricket match?
I don't know. I've always liked it. I guess Dad was always watching it, so I used to watch like 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'd go and play and then do something else and then come back and watch another 10 minutes or so. But I just got stuck with it at the end. I just watch one days and test matches all the time with him.
I love that. I love that. It's interesting how we fall in love with these things that we've shared with those who we love.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Recently, I've been taking my partner in Brisbane to eat a particular Chinese dessert called an egg waffle. And quite honestly, it's quite bland. It's nothing special, but I think it was because it's so tied to my my experiences, my positive experiences with my family in Hong Kong, that it just means so much. But really, it's it's like some kind of emotional attachment to particular experiences. So, Jenny, what's one piece of advice that you'd wish you'd gotten sooner?
One piece of advice, I guess, just keep trying and keep going.
What's the worst?
Oh, I don't know. I can't think of the worst at the moment.
We always love to ask those questions because honestly, everyone, some people will give you unsolicited advice, and some of them are amazing and some of them are not so much. What would you say to someone who has recently, found out about lived experience leadership and is looking towards sharing the story on a more public level, what are some of the tips that you can give?
Just give it a try and see what happens.
Really, really like that. I think it's such simple but so important, right? It's just keep trying.
Yeah. Because if I didn't try in the beginning, no way would I be doing some of the stuff I'm doing now.
Of course, of course. And what gave you that push?
I don't know. I guess I just wanted to try a few different things and see what happens.
Curiosity?
Yeah.
Awesome. I think you mentioned that you were doing a podcast next. Is that right?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. And when and what podcast is this?
Not sure when it's going to be released at the moment. I'm recording it on Friday.
Okay. How was that experience?
This coming Friday, I'm
this
recording
Friday.
it. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And I guess, what do you think has helped you through your journey to stay energized, to stay hopeful, and to stay true to lived experience?
I guess support from others, family, friends, and other peers that I know in the sector. And yeah.
Awesome. And before I end with the last question, is what's your north?
My north, just doing what I'm doing now and see what happens in the future, I guess.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jenny.